Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're doing a special viewer request. Someone specifically asked for a Eldritch Scion build where we go evil, Tiefling, Raycaster, Dex-based character. They left it open for whether we went Infernal for a bloodline, I believe, or Elemental. I decided on going Elemental and doing the cold version, which means water elemental. So let's get into it. Michael, this video's for you, buddy. I have made your character. I'm not going to show you how to go from 1 to 20 like I do in my most videos. I want to try to keep it a little bit brief, and I still have more videos still to do, but I will show you the finished product, tell you the spells, tell you how I leveled it up, and we can go from there. So first off, we went Tiefling, specifically Beast Brood Rakshasa Spawn Tiefling. Remember, you get fiendish resistances, so cold, electric, and fire resistance 5, no acid. More on that later, but the fire at least will be useful early on. As you know, many alchemists exist in the early part of the game. Those bastards like to chug that spell that basically allows them to cast fire breath attack, which is like 1d4 of damage. So again, you'll be immune to it, so that's nice. Beast Brood gives you a +2 to Dex and Charisma with a penalty to Wisdom, which we did not level up like I normally do. That's okay. We get a bonus to Perception and Persuasion, if it's a bluff check anyway. The Blindness spell-like ability, and I say spell-like because it's only level 0. So if you got the real blindness spell, it would be level 2, but still a pretty good spell. It's a fortitude save. We'll make a target blind. Use it on a caster type, someone that has a crappy fortitude. And you'll tell because when it hits them in the big black cloud around their head, it'll be obvious that they failed that check. From there, one of the other reasons I like this Tiefling is because they get damage reduction 2 penetrated by piercing weapons, which granted this sucks, but it's one of those where it's at least some early protection for your character. Obviously, we want Weapon Finesse for our first and only feat, but more on that in a moment. Stats are Strength 10, Dexterity started at 17, Con 12, Intelligence 13, Wisdom 8, Charisma 19. Now I put a point in Intelligence, then a point in Dexterity to round it up to 18, and then 3 points in Charisma. Now if you don't fancy that, I did that for the extra spells and of course the extra armor because you are a monk, Scale Fist Monk to be particular. If you didn't want that, take this to 20, take 2 points away and slap it into your Dexterity, rounding your Dexterity from an 18 to a 20. Again, still more armor, so you still balance out there, but your attacks are better. You're more likely to hit with your weapon finessable weapons and your ranged attacks, which includes your rays. So again, up to you, but I did fancy more spells. So my way, you'll get another level 2 and a level 6 spell. If you went to 20 and 20, then you'd lose those spells. Again, not amazing, but again, you are a spellcaster, so I felt like it made sense. From there, notice some things here for our level up. I started off with the Scaled Fist Monk. Why? Because I wanted the free feat that you get for 1. That's Dodge in this case, is the one that I picked. Also, of course, Flurry of Blows, more on that in a moment. But again, monks get a full base attack bonus progression, which means if you went straight to 20 for monk, you'd finish with a 20 base attack bonus, just so we're clear. It's a little different. So then if I would have went Eldritch Scion first at level 1, your base attack bonus would be 0, then 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, you finish with a 15 if you go straight Eldritch Scion, because you have that middle base attack bonus progression. So I figured why not give you a little juice for swinging early, plus that extra attack on that now. I know you said Rapier. You can still equip a Rapier, your weapon finessing, no problem there. We don't have any weapon focus in Rapier or anything special that lends you to using a Rapier other than obviously the high crit potential. So use a Rapier. Find one, you'll enjoy it. I highly recommend you find an Agile version because we did not get Fencing Grace. So again, something that we're not really going to get is extra damage from our weapon as far as strength and dexterity. Our strength sucks and our dexterity is not going to contribute unless you find those Agile weapons. So keep the best one for yourself. But on this, again, I wanted to say Flurry of Blows. Remember, for your unarmed strikes, using a quarterstaff, which you straight up suck at because your strength is terrible, but also a Kama or a Sai or a Nunchaku, like I have equipped right now, count as monk weapons. Any of those monk weapons then can be Flurry of Blowed, which means you have 2 attacks at level 1 at full base attack bonus. So you see how I have a 17 and a 17? You would be at like the, let's see, +1, and of course your the 3 for dexterity at that point would be, so a +4 and a +4 is what you would have with a monk weapon, which again includes your fist. So I highly recommend that you do that at least until you get a second attack. Why do I say that? Because when you get the second attack, so when you literally get to a BAB of +6, you'll get a second attack with a Rapier, and then feel free to switch back to the Rapier. That would be fine, I'd say. But it's still hard to pass up because for when you get the second attack for the Rapier, you could get a third attack again with a monk weapon. Again, trade-off. You have a crappy crit range of 20 with a monk weapon, all of them, including your fists, the quarterstaff, the rapier, the kama, and the sai, and the nunchakus. But if you went to a rapier, again, you would switch over to the much better crit range. So again, trade-offs. From there, as far as feat picks, besides weapon finesse and of course dodge here at level 1, these ones are all normal. What I mean is they literally show up at the right time. So level 1, level 3, these are exactly where they show up. These ones, on the other hand, here, here, and here, are delayed by 1. Because this is a level 5 Eldritch Scion when this shows up. You're not level 5 till level 6. Because you took that 1 level of Scaled Fist Monk. So again, notice that this will be at 6, this one will be at 12, and this one here will be at 18, just so we're clear. So from 1 through 19, what you got was Weapon Finesse, Point Blank Shot, Precise Shot, Weapon Focus Ray, Crane Wing, Weapon Specialization Ray, Crane Riposte, Deflect Arrows, Arcane Strike, and Piranha Strike, just to give you some extra damage with your finessing stuff. I know that's late, shuffle them around as you see fit, but by and large that's the build here. Down on the bottom, again, offset by 1, so at level 6 we got Crane Style, level 12 we got Point Blank Master Ray, and then at level 18 you got a Blind Fight. Much later in the build than I'm comfortable with, but there's ways around that, as you'll see. Since you get all of these, with the exception of course of True Magus, what you pick is up to you. My suggestions of course are the ones that upgrade your weapon, since we don't have Piranha Strike till the very end, and even Arcane Strike for that matter. Stuff that buffs your weapon, whether it's a rapier or your fists or your nunchakus or whatever you pick. Again, it's nice to be able to buff them up, and as you know, you have that ability. So Enduring Blades, Ghost Blade, and Bane Blade, of course, as soon as you can get those 3, in my opinion, is still a staple. Do you have to grab those? No. Feel free to do what you want. I will say Extended Magic is nice, and Maximized Magic at the end is super nice, but of all those 5 I've just mentioned, none of them are necessary. The one that is necessary, in my opinion, to you is this, Prescient Attack. I've mentioned this in many videos before, so apologize for you guys that are bored with this already, but Prescient Attack is amazing for a Raycaster build. Why? It's a Ray spell, which means a touch attack, which means no armor class for the target, no shield armor class for the target. What does that leave? A lot of shit, quite frankly. Some of that shit, though, is dexterity based, and again, Prescient Attack takes that dexterity bonuses away from them. So again, by being a Ray spell, they lose out their armor, their shield armor, and now with this, they lose out of their dexterity armor. So that's a lot of screw you for the bad guy. More likely than ever that you're going to land those Ray spells. I got it a little late because I think I can get it all the way up to here, but again, I still would rather buff your weapon for longer, especially since you're going solo. The ability to have a +1, +2, and on weapon for several minutes at a time, instead of constantly having to spam that stupid button every time you get into a fight, because remember, it only lasts for 1 minute otherwise. So having it last 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and on up is really, really beneficial to you, in my opinion. Maybe you could push Ghost Blade back, but again, the utility of it, again, is kind of one of those, was kind of like, to be honest, you could push it back a bit, because you cannot use Ghost Blade, Ghost Blade, you cannot use the Brilliant Energy version of Ghost Blade. Remember, you get Ghost Blade and Brilliant Energy at the same time here with this pick. Ghost Blade you can use like immediately because it only takes 1 point. And this is a +1, +2, all the way up to +5. And you get all the way up to +5 in this build. So even at here, you have a +1 to your weapon if you activate that icon. So again, you can turn it into a Ghost Blade because you take away the +1, making it a +0, effectively speaking. So that's no problem. But Brilliant Energy, on the other hand, is a +4. Notice you don't have a +4 here, here, or even here. You have to wait all the way down to here to get a +4. Again, the Ghost Blade part's still useful, and then the Brilliant Energy unlocks officially, as far as I'm concerned, down here, which of course for you will be level 14. So again, still nice. So yeah, I could have swapped those two. Hell, I could even just move Prescient Attack all the way to here and shove all these two down 1, basically. Up to you. But I still maintain that Prescient Attack at least should be in your list. I do like Extended Magic early because, again, you're going solo and your spells, you don't have many, and of course we'll focus on buffs. So Expeditious Retreat, Shield Spell, Blur are all staples. And why not have them last twice as long, at least once a day? Just saying. You can extend it, basically it's like having 2 of the same spell. So it's kind of nice, right? You just buff yourself and make sure you're in an area where you know you can use that buff for long periods of time. So that's a nice one. Maximize at the end, again, you don't have to, But let's face it, who doesn't like a Hellfire Ray triple blast to the face at full damage? That's 15d6 damage at point blank range times 3. So what is it, 60? That's 90 times 3. That's 270 points of damage. Technically 273 because of point blank shot, assuming all 3 hit. And again, that's pretty badass for a single target to your face. And then you continue to stab, 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 because of course you have weapon specialization as well as point blank master. So you can shoot them at point blank range and then still attack like normal, which is funny as hell to me. I won't go over your free spells, just know that you have them, go through your list, except to mention, of course, that you get a free Ray spell here. You don't have many uses in a day. It's 3 plus your charisma modifier. So right now I have a tiara plus 2 here. Normally it's plus 6 by the end of your build, so 3 plus 6 is 9. So you have 9 normal beams a day of this. And it's not bad damage, it's not amazing, it's cold damage, but it is a Ray spell. So again, falls under the same trap of things like point blank master being useful for you. So pretty nice. Of course they give you Scorching Ray cold, and again another one to point out, simply because if you want and of course Burning Hands cold, and then point this out because if you want the fire versions, you have to pick the fire version of the spell as you level up. These are free, it's not the same as fire. So I mentioned it because I did grab Scorching Ray, the original version. Why? Because sometimes things need to die by fire. So this beam is useless for you right now. Grab the fire version, you'll love it. You could have done the same for here too. I decided I didn't need it. The cold was good enough for me. And of course they give you the massive AoE explosion spell-like ability, Elemental Blast, in our case cold damage. Really, really nice. Reflex check. It's I want to say 1d6 per caster level. Your caster level by the end of your build is 19. So you'll do 19d6 of damage, and you can use it twice a day. Once a day when it unlocks, which will be at level 10 for you, and then the next time should be 17, but again you're delayed by 1, so level 18 you'll get your second casting in a day. That thing is huge though for area of effect. Do not stand in it because it will hurt you. The reason you went Water Elemental was because of this. People swear by it for a tanky build because again, immunity to combat maneuvers includes a variety of things. Bull Rush being one of them, Trip being definitely another. And those wolves that trip you all the time, this is really, really helpful now. Now, yes, that's way at the end of your build. But now let's talk about that. Level 1, again, is your Monk, and then 2 through 20 will be your Eldritch Scion, right? If you go solo, I highly recommend you can do so with a decent, let's say, a Masterwork crossbow. Remember, you have no strength, so why would you want to use yourself a composite longbow? It doesn't do you any good. But a Masterwork crossbow, especially a heavy crossbow, will hit really hard, and again there's no penalty to the damage because it's just straight up damage. And then of course your dexterity is important, and you have a high dexterity, so you have a really good chance to hit with it. So Expeditious Retreat your way around and shoot people and run away, shoot people and run away, a good tactic. You can do that right around level 3, maybe 4 if you want to push it, but at least level 3 you can give it a shot in that specific area that I'm thinking of. And then in that area with all your mobility, your athletics check, and your trickery that we have invested in, as you'll see in a moment, you have the ability to do those XP skills to yourself. Make sure to shut off XP share for anyone that doesn't do the XP check, the skill check I should say, and then make sure you shut off the XP for when people aren't on the team. Because again, you're going solo, you want all the XP to go to you, right? So that's your way of doing that. And you can go from 3 to 5 in that zone easy. Easy. Do not try this trick though with the Expeditious Retreat though when you're fighting wolves. They are in that area. Wolves run at 60. You will run at 60. So they will not be able to be kited. You not shoot them and then run away because they'll keep pace with you the entire time. You cannot stop, turn, shoot, and run away. Stop, turn, shoot, and run away. That's the trick. So for wolves you can't. Just come back later when you're 6, 7, or 8 and just clean their clocks. It's fine. It's only one little area in that map that's a problem. From there, let's talk about skills. We have athletics. I've managed to put 2 points in it, and that's it, just to get it up to a +5. You notice that I'm a fan of 5s. You'll notice that these are at 16s, but that's because I have a necklace or a tiara on that gives me a +2 to my charisma, which means a +1 bonus. Otherwise, this would be a 15 and a 15. And I got the belt, of course, too, for another +2. But I'm saying, normally I try to balance things out where they landed on like a +5, a +10, a +15, +20. Perception you always invest in. You're the only one on the team most times, so you want to be able to spot that trap, and you definitely want to spot that free loot, right? So you want to have perception, always important. Mobility, you need at least 3 points in it. You see we do have 3 points in it. Now the good news is, because we went elemental, mobility is a class skill, so you get a green check mark next to it, so 1 point in it gives you a +3 bonus. So you can see why 3 points plus our dexterity plus our class skill adds up to a nice 11. That's not bad. From here, I'd say at level 1, I would make sure to have athletics, mobility, and trickery at least get 1 point each. Why? Because when you finally start to level up solo, level 3 on up, you're doing the athletics checks yourself, you're doing the mobility checks yourself, and you're doing the trickery checks yourself. And trickery we invested in, not heavily, but definitely more than we probably should have for any other build. But because you're solo, it's important. You'll notice that it has 11 ranks in it. Use Magic Device has 6, Persuasion has 11 in it, and Knowledge Arcana has 8 in it. Now, of course, we're all over the place here, but let me explain the logic on this. Perception is always the most important. Second most important, in my opinion, is trickery. Third most important then would be persuasion. Why in that order? Perception, again, you need to spot stuff all the time. That's why it never stops. You're always putting points in it. The other, for trickery, being the second most important, again, you're the only one picking the locks and disarming the traps. That's free XP for that shit. So again, you want to be able to do it. Now, I did not invest 11 ranks in it from start to finish, or I mean from level 1 to level 11. Say it that way. I took it to a natural breaking point, which to me, by the time I stopped, it was at a +10 here, which means I probably had a dexterity of 18, so a +4 here, and then I invested probably 6 points or 6 ranks in it here to get this a final +10. Then I left it alone for a while because by then you were getting your kingdom, level 7, 8, or 9, right around there, and persuasion is more important, so I started investing in that, maybe finished off getting mobility up to 3, and dump an extra point in athletics just because, but definitely make sure you unlock Use Magic Device, and of course Knowledge Arcana. And then from there, when I finally felt like, I'm level 10, 11, 12, 13 or so, and I'm not really adding to my trickery, maybe it's time to start investing in it again. That's why I added 5 more points from ranks of 6 to ranks 11. So literally giving us 5 more points, which is what finished it off at a 15. And on that, I still think is not amazing, but definitely good enough. You will find, obviously, dex-based gear. You will also find stuff that is like traps of disarming or whatever, gloves, so that it gives you a plus to your trickery check. So you'll find that stuff. And again, now on that topic, I made you a female character. Sorry, I got your last name wrong, Mike. And I know you're not Michelle, but I had this awesome tiefling picture that I thought was pretty badass. And she has, I can't show you the full picture, but she has what looks like a really narrow blade, so it felt like a rapier. So she looks pretty pimp, in my opinion. So I made you Michelle. And Michelle is going to be a prima donna. She's going to have all the cool necklaces. She's going to have all the wands, all the belts, all the rings and jewelry, cloaks and robes besides. So she's going to be a clothes whore. Make sure to grab yourself bags of holding and small bags of holding every chance you can. I think you can only get like 3 in the game. Now maybe they've changed that, but I know you can get 2 small bags of holding and definitely 1 bag of holding much later. When you can afford to buy them, you should be buying them. Grab the small ones first. It's cheaper and more bang for your buck, so to speak. But definitely you want all 3. Why? Because you're going to be carrying all kinds of gear and clothes and stuff because you're the only teammate. So make sure you have carrying capacity. That's how you do it. On that, early on, level 3 and on up when you're soloing, you'll notice when I play my game solo, maybe you don't because you didn't watch those videos, which is fine, I will pack stuff back. So when I finish an area and I clearly need to take a knee, go to Oleg's to rest up or whatever, and come back and finish off the map because I'm not quite done yet, I will leave, but I will take much of his gear that's in that area. Not so much that I'm like crawling at a snail's pace to get back to Oleg's, but I'll definitely be encumbered at some level, probably right here in the middle somewhere, healthy, and take some stuff back. Obviously the most expensive stuff that weighs the lightest first. Take that back, sell it to Oleg, rest up, get your spells back and all that jazz, maybe buy some more rations, another spell, another wand, another potion, whatever, and come back again and solo some more. When I finish a map in that particular area that you're going to solo from 3 to 5 in particular, the map's done, I've killed everybody below ground, I've killed everybody above ground, to my satisfaction, maybe not the wolves, but still close enough. I will pack up, grab some stuff again, sell to Oleg's, take my team now of my strongest lifters, go back to that same map, and pack out all the crappy armor and shit. Why? It's only worth a few bucks. Yes, but a few bucks is a lot in this game. And again, if you're the only person that needs to be equipped, you start stockpiling that cash, you'd be surprised how fast it is that you can buy something like the bag of holding, which is like 25 grand. This thing is 2,500. and you can get like 2 of these, like I said, eventually in the game. So 2,500 and 2,500, clearly again more bang for your buck. But you're going to get wands, you're going to get scrolls, you're going to get potions, because it's all on you, buddy. So make sure you have as much gold as possible for when you find that rare ticket item, because you never know in this game, in my opinion, when you can go back to that vendor and buy something. Vendors disappear all the time in my D&D campaigns. I assume that the same applies for this video game. So just because they're there once doesn't mean they're going to be there tomorrow. If you want something and you have the money, you should probably buy it now. On that, because you're going to be carrying all this different jewelry and stuff, and robes and whatnot, remember to go through them in a fight. If you lose a fight, you scum save like you should be, especially for your XP checks. But if you're scum saving like you should, you get your ass kicked in a fight, or you win the fight, but maybe you used every spell, stupidly for some reason, because you're just like misclicking and doing just like dumb tactics in general. And you're like, well, I finished with like 1 hit point, the guy's dead, I guess I win, but I probably could have done it better. Go back to an earlier save, go through your gear. That's why we have all this shit here, so you can say, okay, this necklace is to give me better initiative. I'm more likely that I swing first. That's a boon to me. If I don't like that, maybe I'm getting hit too easy. I have amulets of natural armor. Obviously this is a crappy one, but again, the point is I could up my armor at the tiniest bit, and that might be enough to save my ass. Maybe I don't like that. Well, how about you grab the necklace that gives you a bonus to fighting animals and beasts? Maybe that's what you're fighting. So again, more damage, more attack rolls, easier to kill those guys. Again, switch out on stuff. You'll do that with rings, you'll do that with necklaces. The ones that you probably will not switch out on, and this is just a warning, definitely not your hat, and probably not your belt. Why? Because you are going to get, I assume, the hat of mental perfection, the one that looks like a giant ass wizard hat. It's fucking pimp, bro. You're gonna love it. It's a +8 to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The belt is, again, you could swap it, but the one that you're going to want, like this one, is a + to dexterity. There's one that's called a belt of physical perfection, and it's a +8 to strength, a +8 to dex, and a +8 to con. So while you could swap out the belt, you'd be penalized by all kinds of shit. Your health would go down, your reflexes go down, your armor goes down, your strength goes down. You get the idea. It sucks. But you could swap it out, and it's not the worst thing ever. But for the hat, remember, that's a charisma bonus. If you swap out the hat and you still don't have that same charisma bonus, you just lost a shit ton of spells per day, buddy. And armor and all kinds of other stuff. That's why I say you're probably going to leave these 2 slots alone. Get the best dexterity belt and the best charisma tiara that you can find, like I have here. The only ones I can buy. But if you can find a +4, use the +4. And again, on the note of gear, when you're not hoarding shit that you don't need anymore, let's say I find a tiara of +4 charisma. This can be sold, sure, but remember, you do have a team. Even though you're going solo, eventually these are whiny little crybabies, and these bastards have to be had their hand held from every place they want to go. I want to go see the dwarf and blah blah blah. Oh, fucking Christ. Okay, sure, let's go. Pack up these losers, and again, they are going to be losers to you. They're going to be level 3, level 5, level 7 to your 8, 10, 12. They will get curb stomped by the material that they're coming across. Park them in the corner. Do like this. Park them in the corner. Put them on stealth and idiot mode. Shut them off so they don't move or do anything. Use them to buff you, maybe, if they are caster types. That's awesome. And then just leave them in a corner. Run through the area, clean its clock solo, and then take the team to the next level. That's how I do shit when I have to take those idiots with me. So again, that's something. But again, don't get rid of gear just because you can sell it. And again, you have the upgraded version. Remember, you do have a team. Give them at least something. A little leather plus blah blah, whatever. Every now and again, give them a little better armor. Maybe a ring that you don't use anymore. Give them a magic weapon of some kind. I mean, give them something. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to kit them out, but don't be stupid either. Don't have them walking out there wearing rags and a fucking ratty old sword and expect them to carry the team. It ain't gonna happen. Give them something. And again, you're gonna have a big team to label or to level up with this crap. So every once in a while, I'm not saying everything, but every once in a while, feel free to throw a necklace or a trinket their way, and that's helpful. Other than that, though, I mean, that really covers this. Let's talk about spells now, bro. You have your typical spells, your melee touch attacks, your buffs. And again, we'll go through all of the ones that I picked and why I picked them in the order that I picked them. When it comes to our free spells, the ones that you get at level 20 for you get 6 of them still. You don't get them until the end of your build at level 20. However, I'll mention them and why I get them, but I'll do that at the very end of this so I can explain it, okay? So shock and grasp and shield are staples and obvious. You want to channel through your weapon still. Obviously, the reason you went rapier and shield. Now remember, you can channel through any physical, any melee weapon. That includes your fists. So if you wanted to flurry of blows for a while, you can still do that trick. You're just not going to crit more often than not. That's why you wanted the rapier. So, and don't remember, don't think that you have to be just the rapier. We have no skill in it more than any other finessable weapon. So if you find an agile light pick, hint hint wink wink, you can get in chapter 1 in that same area that you can solo. Equip that shit. You will get extra damage from your dexterity. Now when you find the agile rapier or a better weapon than that, sell the light pick or give it to somebody on your team that's also a weapon finesser that's going to be parked back at the castle. And again, go to town with your rapier or whatever. But I also mention it because you also have a kukri fetish, because again, kukris, while they don't do as much damage as the rapier, they're slashing damage, so it's different damage, and they have that same crit range of 18, 19, and 20. So again, don't discount the kukris, and there's some really good ones in the game. So kukri or a rapier should probably be one of your main weapons, and then I'd have at least one, if not two, monk weapons in the other two slots. That can be, of course, a kama, a sai, a nunchaku, or just your bare fists. Any of those work. And why do I say that? Because a rapier, again, there's going to be guys that are immune to slashing damage or piercing damage. But you have bludgeoning damage in your fists, or the nunchakus, and those are weapon finessable. You get the point. Switch to the appropriate weapon. And again, flurry of blows, man, you got to love an extra attack, especially early on when you're the only person fighting and you're surrounded by 3 goddamn spiders, and they get a bite, a bite, a bite. Yes, they miss all the time. That's the whole point of you being tanky. But then you swing once and you whiff. And then they bite and bite and bite, and then you swing once and you whiff. This gets annoying real fast. If at least if you swing and you miss both times, well, that sucks. But more likely than not, one of them is going to land, and they're at full attack bonus. That's why I do the flurry of blows early on. Once you get to, like I said, 2 attacks with your rapier, which will mean your base attack bonus is +6, and then your second swing will be at a +1, then you can probably switch to a rapier and feel not completely screwed. But again, at that same level, I could be flurry of blowing still with a +6, a +6, and a +1 for my fists, or a kama, or a sai, or a nunchaku, or even a quarterstaff, which is weird. But again, you see the point. But you are still using these staples to protect yourself and channel through your weapon. Expeditious Retreat was the next pick. Why? Because normally this would be level 2. You're level 3. Remember, you had that 1 level offset for Monk. So again, Expeditious Retreat at level 3, because at level 3 that's when you can finally start, in my opinion, to do that kiting trick. So you definitely use this. I mean, this spell, in my opinion, will allow you to go from 3 to 5 pretty damn easy with a nice crossbow, way more than this spell, or this spell even will. So again, I almost just use just this as a buff, and I don't even buff up with shield at that point. I just do this, run around, maybe use the extended version once I get to level 4, because that's when level 3 extended magic gets on your plate. Double the duration of it, run around, shoot, run around, shoot, run around, shoot. Very fun, very easy, and of course all those cool XP checks that you're going to get for traps and mobility checks and athletics checks besides in that area. Burning Hands for free. This is the cold version. I didn't feel like it was necessary to grab the fire version. You can. I didn't. As you can see, I didn't even get Grief Spell, which I think is a mistake, but follow my logic on why I think it's okay. Magic Missile for obvious reasons, an auto hit move. This would be the only one that, in my opinion, you could lose for Grief Spell. Having said that, you know the usefulness of this spell, I'm sure. There's some guys in this game that are just straight up immune to every type of magic damage except Magic Missile. So again, you can hit them with your weapon and they can die from your weapon. If you feel confident enough that with your swing that you'll hit them and kill them, don't get Magic Missile, that's fine. But I do like an auto hit move, especially early on, and again, it levels up steadily, so it's nice. Reduce Person is a little late in the build, in my opinion, because I'd rather have it earlier, but again, Magic Missile. Reduce Person, though, is amazing for you. As much as I love Shield and Expeditious Retreat, this little guy is awesome for your build. You are a Dex-based character, weapon finesser besides. So when you turn Reduce Person on, not only do your dexterity go up 2 points, which means you get a +1 to your swing, whether it's ranged or melee, doesn't matter. You get a +1 to your armor class, which is awesome, and you get a +1 to your reflexes. That's baller. Wait, there's more. Because of your size, you're a teeny tiny person, which means it's easier to hit those big fat heads, and therefore you get another +1 to your swing. So now a +1 went up to a +2 now. That's ranged and that's melee, that's including your raise spells besides. That's awesome. Then, because again you're a teeny tiny person, it's harder for those big fat heads to hit you. So your armor goes up yet again. So that's a +2 to armor, a +2 to your swing, a +1 to your reflexes. Now yes, it's a penalty to your strength. You don't care that much, but again, that's why you need the bag of holding, because you can't carry shit. And then You also get, what was the other penalty? Oh yeah, your weapon. Your weapon shrinks into a smaller category size. So your rapier, for instance, is a 1d6 weapon. It's now 1d4. It's not critical. I mean, you're losing a point in attack. It's not that big a deal. And again, you're more likely to hit. So in the grand scheme of things, I say it balances out that you're more likely to hit and therefore will still steadily do more damage. So up to you. But this is, in my opinion, is an amazing spell. I grabbed Snowball, and while you could say get rid of it and grab Grease, fine, but you are a Ray caster. This is your only Ray spell that we grabbed at level 1. I figured, why not? You know, you can shoot him in the face, and again, I love the fact that there's no spell resistance. Not that we particularly care, but it is helpful. And again, you're only caster level 19, so your spell pen straight up sucks. But the fact that it was a Ray spell was the real reason for it. And again, cold damage, you know, thematically it fits with your character. And if they fail their check, hey, Fortitude, save, fail, and they get staggered. I don't care, even if they do make the check, because they're still taking the full damage. So it's still a nice spell. Blur, Frigid Touch, the Scorching Ray free one, the cold version. I of course grabbed the fire version because some stuff just needs to die by fire. Know when you have your toggle on, we'll talk about that, but you see this thing here, that's the toggle we're talking about. When that's on, this spell basically is the same as that spell now, so don't do it. Don't do it. Feel free to attack, but if it has to be fire, make sure you shut it off. And I'll show you how you can tell when we get into the actual game. Mirror Image for some obvious tanky goodness. Web Spell for some decent crowd control. Same with Glitter Dust, but Glitter Dust also has that wonderful ability of lighting up invisible targets. Remember your blind fight, we don't get it till very late in the build, hence the reason for Glitter Dust here. And again, I'll talk about the free ones at the very end. Displacement, normally I do Vampiric Touch first, but we're going Fireball. You're the only one on the team. You probably want some AoE loving. So I figured, well, hell, let's grab some Fireball. And again, with your toggle on, that will do cold damage. Not that I care, I'm saying it's cool. But again, know if it needs to be fire to kill off like a troll, for instance, that you probably want to switch it off. Actually, I think though it still kills them, by the way, in cold. It's weird. So I think it's still thinking of it as a fire spell that kills the damn troll off, which is funny to me, but whatever. Protection from Energy free spell. An amazing spell. Straight up immunity to whatever element you cast on yourself, and you can cast it 5 times if you have the spell slots in a day, which you do. You could be immune to acid, cold, electric, fire, and sonic damage by casting it 5 times on yourself and absorb up to 120 points of any of those attacks. That's a waste, but you could do that thing. It's not an amazing spell compared to this one, in my opinion, and I'll explain why when we start talking about our free picks. But it's free, and you're going to take it, and hell, that's a nice protection early on, so you will use it. Vampiric Touch for obvious reasons. Extra health, extra damage, and you can turn it into cold damage with your toggle on, which is just some funny shit right there. And a warning on this, I keep forgetting to mention that cold damage, why I keep saying, you know, make sure to turn that shit off. There's some bad guys you fight where they don't like cold, and then that's nice, so you can do extra damage, but there's bad guys in the game that are immune to cold, like Undead. So you don't want to be blasting them, again, with spells like this. That's why, again, another reason for that. Same with Frigid Touch. Completely useless for you against some of those targets. But Shocking Grasp would be awesome, so would Vampiric Touch, so long as you don't turn it into cold damage. You see what I'm saying? Haste for an obvious extra attack around, +1 to your swing, +1 to your armor, +1 to your reflexes, as well as moving faster if you haven't cast Expeditious Retreat already. Now on that topic, if you get jumped, which is going to happen, and you are alone, which you said you're going to be most times, you have to attack and of course cast a spell as soon as possible to try to buff up. Well, which spell do you cast? Shield spell's nice, that's a nice 4 to your armor class. Okay, that's not the worst idea ever. And then you're fighting Expeditious Retreat, and maybe you can run away and then buff up. That's not a bad idea. I've done that to some success. It's not amazing. It depends on the size of the map where you get ambushed. Reduce Person, obviously not. Yes, it's a nice buff to your armor, nice buff to your swing, but you're still going to get peppered with stuff, so it takes a full round to cast that shit. So you're like an idiot while they're shooting arrows into your chest. And again, you remember your damage reduction? 2/piercing. Guess what's going to go right through that AR2? Yeah, that's right, arrows, crossbow, bolts, so again, a problem. But you could go Blur, miss me 20% of the time. Okay, that's not the worst idea ever. Mirror Image then. You know, they can hit my image and I'd be completely immune. Again, not a bad idea, but if there's a lot of bad guys, they're going to jump you, shoot you with arrows, and all those mirror images are going to fall off almost as soon as you cast it. So it's kind of like, well, shit, what did I do now? But now, let me tell you about Haste. A little bit of armor, a little bit of attack bonus if you get caught in a corner and you have no choice. but that 30-foot movement speed, just like Expeditious Retreat, but better, right? That's why I like haste. Cast that shit, run the fuck away if you have to, stand and fight if you have to. You got another attack around, better chance to swing, and a little bit of armor. Besides, feel free to do that thing. I would say you could do the reverse, and you get ambushed. Instead of buffing yourself, just debuff them. Okay, but it has to land, so they have to fail the saving throw. And again, while you can probably guarantee in many cases that that works, it's probably not the best idea you've ever had. But again, that's why I like haste. Just that's my little soapbox, and now I'm getting off it. Stinking Cloud. When you finally have delayed poison in your beck and call, which means a teammate casts it on you, which obviously you don't have, or you have either immunity to poison somehow, like a trinket, or in my case, I just buy scrolls of delay poison, like by the boatload. They last for multiple hours. You don't have to waste them. Every time you get up, you shouldn't cast that spell on yourself. But if you're getting up in an area where you know you're going to be fighting, hell yeah, you should. Why? Because A, the bad guys may have poison, and B, we can stand in stuff like Stinking Cloud and completely screw them. They're going to engage you in melee combat. They're going to have to. So cast that at their feet or your feet, and the damage ensues, and they can't do shit about it. I like using this also on the casters because they can't cast spells when they're under the effect of this. Neither can you, by the way, hence the reason for the delay poison. The immunity to poison protects you from it. Amazing spell, and I still consider this crowd control. Just like Slow, another crowd control spell. Amazing spell, will save spell, only one of two that you have, Glitter Dust being the other. And again, decent spells, and while I do consider Glitter Dust crowd control-ish, the AoE is very tiny. It's not to say you can't get at least 2 or 3 guys in that zone, but don't hit yourself with that shit because you're not immune to it. So be careful. From here, Dimension Door, Dragon's Breath are good combos. Teleporting in, teleporting out is extremely helpful, especially if you need to teleport to the other side of the map to kill that goddamn wizard that's beaming your ass, or the ranger, or the whatever that's staying in the far back and shooting at range. Teleport over to his ass. Show him how you feel about that shit. You will enjoy it. Dragon's Breath, amazing spell. You know my love for this. No spell resistance, and of course, various elemental attacks. And on that, make sure to shut off your water toggle. Otherwise, it's going to be all cold damage. But again, on that, remember, you get to pick the type of Dragon Breath. Well, remember, cold dragons only have the cone. Well, maybe if you're in a corridor, it's a long hallway. The bad guys are chasing you down the hallway. You want to stop, turn, and shoot a beam down the hallway to get all those bastards that are in a nice straight line. But you don't have a cold Dragon's Breath beam attack. You do now, baby. Turn that toggle back on and pick any of the other beam spells. The Lightning Dragon, the Acid Dragon, or one of the Fire Dragons all have beam attacks. It will do cold damage if you have this toggle on. See that? That's really kind of cool. I'm not going to mention that one. I'll talk about the good one. Greater Invisibility, amazing spell. Just because we're grabbing Sense Vitals at the very end of your build doesn't mean you want to wait on something like this. Still useful. And again, as much as I love haste for when you get jumped, I like Greater Invis way better. Literally, the ability to cast that on yourself if you get ambushed is amazing, because again, now many guys will stop and go, where the hell did he go, and not attack because they don't know what to do. And it gives you a chance to peace out, get over somewhere else, buff yourself up with a couple other good spells like, you know, your shield spell, maybe Expeditious Retreat, Reduce Person, you know, whatever you do. Or just set them up with a nice Stinking Cloud and watch the bastards choke to death while you finally start buffing yourself up. However you want to handle the fight is on you. But that's an amazing spell. Even without sneak attack potential, still an amazing spell. And again, will allow you to sneak into an area easily and set up the, oh, there's the caster. Let me summon a Stinking Cloud on his ass before we start the fight. Nice tactic. Stone Skin for obvious protection, and remember on this one, just like your DR2/piercing, they don't stack, so you don't have suddenly 12. It's whichever is the best case scenario. So if they swing at you and it's physical damage, then you're absorbing 10, unless it's adamantine, in which case then the 2 kicks in, unless of course it's also a piercing weapon. If it's an adamantine piercing weapon, you're screwed. But whatever, you're still going to kill their ass, so don't worry too much. But again, that's layers of protection, and you gotta love that stuff. So again, that's why I like it. Shout. You can do cold damage with this one too if your toggle's on, not that I care. It's a fortitude save, which is different than a reflex save, and on that you are a reflex and fortitude casting son of a bitch when it comes to saves. You do have a couple will saves, like I said, slows 1 and so is Glitter Dust, but that's it. So for fighters, you're probably doing the reflex stuff. For wizards, you know you're not clearly using the will saves. You're using the fortitude saves or even the reflex saves a little bit. For the ninjas, the couple will saves you have are not bad. glitter dust, and slow. And honestly, quite frankly, that's perfect for some of those ninjas because they're usually invisible assholes. Why not light them up like a Christmas tree? And that doesn't even matter if they make the save or not, just that you hit them with it. So that's kind of nice. But don't use your reflex saves on those ninjas. Use your fortitude saves like Sneaking Cloud, Bone Shatter's coming later. Again, you'll see more. So again, decent spells. I'll talk about the free ones later. Acidic Spray, Cloud Kill for first ones here. Why not Cone of Cold? It's easier to line up because it's a cone, so that's a good argument. However, Acidic Spray, remember, does more damage potentially. This one, and this one all do 15d6 of damage. This one, if they fail their save, not only do they take that 15d6 of damage, but then it ticks again for one more round for 7d6 of damage. On that, you can turn the acid into cold with your toggle, but only the first hit. The second hit turns back to acid. Again, I don't care. It's extra damage, and unless they're immune to acid, why do you give a shit either? So, it's still damage. But just know it. It'll fire off and you're going, I thought I had my toggle on. You did. It's just, it's weird with those spells that tick. It does the same on Acid Arrow, but I didn't pick Acid Arrow, so I can't show you in on that one. But Cloud Kills, again, amazing. Again, really good cheese potential here for you to, there's a boss over there. I know he's over there. He's already there. It's not that they spawn when you finally walk into the area. Thank God. They're always there. So just cast the spell at distance and let it drift into the bastard. If you think that it went past him, turn around because the cloud follows the direction you're facing. So it drifts at 10 feet away from the way you're facing. So just point it to him, drift it through him, turn around, have it drift back into your field of vision, then turn back again, and it drifts back into, and just play with it a little bit. And again, he'll probably not necessarily die from it, but his con will probably go down enough that when you finally start the fight, go over there, you'll kick his ass because his health is going to be crap. That's kind of cool. And again, if you're immune to poison with Delay Poison Scroll or Wand or Potions, feel free to stand in this shit while you're fighting some of those heavy-hitting bastards, because they won't like it, and you're fine. And that's pretty cool. So again, good tactics. And yes, it's cheesy, but so what? Casters are cheesy. That's the whole point. You want solo caster. I'm assuming that's why I do it. Elemental Body 2. Compared to 1 and 3, this one's the best version, in my opinion. 1 is not tough enough. You don't get enough bang for your buck. 3, it goes sideways. For instance, I won't show you on this. I can just tell it to you. So at level 2, the Elemental Body 2 version, take the 2 that you'd probably want to use. You're a dex-based character, so you want probably more dexterity for some extra protection. So that's the air elemental or the fire elemental, okay? If you want strength, then you go earth. If you want extra constitution, you go water. Now, since we're going dex, it's air or fire. Again, I don't care which one you pick. They're both generic and they're decent. It's a decent dexterity buff. You get some armor besides. You can only attack once in a combat round, and that shit straight up sucks. And you can't cast spells. However, that's the same for 1 versus 2 versus 3. However, 3 you can cast or attack at least twice, I think, in a combat round. So that is a little different. But, having said that, Air Elemental and Fire Elemental get the dexterity bonuses, right? So, why not then go 3? They gotta be better, right? They are not. Instead of giving them more dexterity, the dumbasses give us, like, Constitution or Strength. It's like, what the fuck you doing? I wanted to be dex-based. And then, like, for the strength one, at least the strength, I think the earth guy goes from strong to even more strong, and I think some con besides. So thematically it makes sense. The water guy, he gets some dexterity suddenly, so that's weird, and it's not very much. It's like +2. So again, odd. Also, the level 3 version, they're the bigger version, so therefore you're easier to hit because you're large, much like an enlarged person spell. Level 1, you are a shrinky-dinky person, just like a reduced person spell. So you may think, oh, that's a nice buff. It is, but you already had reduced person, right? So you're getting that buff from being teeny tiny. When you use, by the way, these forms, you turn into whatever size they are. If I had a large person on and I'm big, if I cast this on myself, trust me, I'm now small. You are the small size. It forces you to be the small size. I still get my +2 to strength from enlarged person. How weird is that? But it is freaky because I still have a penalty to my swing. Wait, no, I don't. I take that back. I don't have a penalty to my swing from size. I do have a penalty because of the dexterity, yes. But again, 2 is the nice middle ground one, is my point here. That's the one you want. And the reason you want this spell, even though it's free, the reason you want it is because as a solo character, somewhere in the game, shit's going to happen where if they attack a living target, you're dead. If you have a team, that's fine, because even if you die, your team can carry on the fight, kill everybody, and res your ass at the end of the fight. Sometimes. So at least you can get through it. You're running solo. So again, when you get to that area and you realize, oh, I'm going to get my ass handed here no matter what I do, That's what this spell's for. Or the other two versions, but basically this one, because you're turning into something that's not quote-unquote living, and therefore you can kick their ass. Pre-buff up, because again, you can't cast spells once you turn into that form, so pre-buff up with all the crazy shit, then cast that one on you, go in there, clean their clock. Highly recommend that you extend haste when you're in this form too, because haste won't last very long, but we have the extended magic, double the duration on it, then cast this bad boy, and you will at least get 2 attacks around that way. It does help. Good news is on these forms, while for everyone else, Magus wise, we lose our armor. It basically gets absorbed to the form, and you don't get any benefit from the armor you're wearing. You don't have armor. You have charisma armor, and you have dex armor, and that's still on you. So that's nice for you. You're really tanky in this form. Cone of Cold, again, no reason to grab it over Fire Snake except for the fact that it is easier to place. And again, Fire Snake is nicer because of fire damage and teammate friendly, but you don't have a team, so who cares about that part? So I went with the easier to apply massive cone of damage. Notice for Vampiric Shadow Shield, you can actually turn this on with your toggle on. You can activate this, and when they hit you, it does cold damage to them, which is just funny as shit to me. It's like you have a cold aura spell, which is hilarious. And again, if you went Earth Elemental, it would be acid, and that would be an acid aura. And to me, that's just funny. I don't know why. I mean, it does still heal you. All the other stuff is still applicable, but it is hilarious to me. From here, Hellfire Ray, you are a Ray caster after all. Why not get the best Ray spell that the game has to offer, in my opinion? Well, at level 6 anyway. Hellfire Ray, amazing spell, 15d6 of damage, and it's fire damage and unholy damage. Remember, it's split, so if they're immune to fire, at least they're taking some. Well, we have a way around that. If they're not immune to cold, turn your toggle on, baby. Guess what? It turns it into cold damage and cold damage. Yes, the unholy damage goes to cold damage now, so it converts it into a completely cold-based spell, which is funny to me that you see like 3 beams go out and 6 rolls for damage. 3 that should have been fire and 3 that should have been unholy damage, but they're all cold damage because your toggle's on, and that's just hilarious. And again, shut it off if you need to do fire damage, just so we're clear. Transformation, I grabbed that before Sirocco, which is usually difficult for me to make that decision. I just want to make sure that you don't forget to grab this. Because of your build, 3 spells that I would keep in your back pocket at all times. What do I mean? Remember, you have multiple castings a day at level 2, 1 through 6, right? So always have 1 level 2 spell, 1 level 4 spell, and 1 level 6 spell at all times once you unlock transformation. Why do I say this? When the poop hits the fan and you ran out of spells and you're down to your last 3, 1 level 2, 1 level 4, 1 level 6, what spells are you going to cast? In this order, you're going to cast Sense Vitals, Greater Invis, Transformation, and Ginsu the shit out of everyone that's trying to kill you. If you don't make the fight after that, well then go to another safe spot. But that's your last ditch effort, buddy. That's your chance to just really tear up a weapon, because you can't cast spells in this form. That's why this is the last one. And you can buff your weapon still, so turn it to a flaming Bane weapon of awesome sauceness. But by and large, this is your last ditch chance to survive the fight. Remember, you're the only one there. You can't rely on the team to be the last person to survive the fight where you're down and then you suddenly stand back up with 1 hit point. Nope, sir. It's you or nothing. So if you go down, you're done. So have this in your back pocket for that reason. Sirocco, amazing spell. Oddly, you can't turn the fire damage into cold damage. It stays fire. I don't know what that's about. Same with acid fog, by the way. It stays acid damage from start to finish, which I think is weird. But some of it is glitchy like that. So again, it's fine. The spell in and of itself is amazing, and it is, in my opinion, not only a damaging spell, but also crowd control, because it knocks them prone, and it does fatigue and exhaustion. Amazing spell. And again, if it's like, because it's a fortitude save, a very rare evocation fortitude save spell, in my opinion, if they're plowing through, because it's the fighter types that are going to make that fortitude save, like trolls and shit are going to walk right through that shit. If they're not being fatigued, they're not hitting and going prone as fast as you want, and they're getting over to the spot where they can swing at you and kick your ass, feel free to cast it on itself again. You can double stack that shit, or triple stack it even. I wouldn't, because it's a level 6 casting. I'd throw in something like Obsidian Flow, or a web spell, or hell, a slow spell, just to slow them down so they're stuck in that area a little bit longer so that Sirocco can do its magic, pardon the pun, and kick its ass, because remember, it's 1 round per caster level. Boom, boom, boom. Every 6 seconds it's checking for the damage and for their saving throws. So again, eventually they'll get hit by it, is my guess. Some guys may be immune, but that's another thing, and that's when you use other spells to kick that bastard's ass. Chain lightning, you can turn it into cold damage or keep it electric. Amazing, instant, huge damage. Not 20d6, remember you're only caster level 19, so 19d6 is the best you got, but still pretty damn solid. Now let's talk about our free spells in reverse order. We'll start at low level first. Sense Vitals, because duh. Yes, I know it's level 20, but what the hell, man? Who would want to have sneak attack damage? And remember, all your Ray spells, including your cantrips, can be sneak attack damage with greater invis on and Sense Vitals. Just saying. And you have Point Blank Master, right? I would have that shit on autopilot when I'm not really worried about using spells. If I just want to do the, like, I know this fight's going to go quickly, right? I have Sense Vitals on, and I have greater invisibility on. My weapon's buffed up, and these guys are fodder. Yes, they may get a swinging in on me. I may take like 10 points of damage, but they're basically going to die from just my weapons. Why waste more spells? I agree. But I would still turn on my Acid Splash and my Ray of Frost cantrip. They're infinite use, and you are a point blank master. So you can shoot at them at point blank range with a bonus to swinging, no less. Shoot them in the face for 1 to 3 plus 1 damage of acid or cold. No big deal, right? Why do I even care? Because you can sneak attack that damage to now add 5d6. See what I'm saying? Free damage, baby. You gotta love that spell. Now, let's talk about why Resist Energy. Remember, you already have this one. And if you feel that that's enough, fine. But let me make my case. Resist Energy at the level we're getting it. Notice it starts off where it gives you 10 protection. Then it steadily goes from 10 to 20. And then 20 to 30. Well, it's at 11th level. You're at level 20 when you're picking the shit up. So you're getting it at the full version of 30. So let's just talk about 30 protection. Now, this guy can make you immune to fire. Up to 120 points. Doesn't matter if it's 10 points, 1 point, 120 points of fire, you will not take damage. However, the moment it exceeds 120 points total absorption capacity, it discharges, which means it pops. I think of it as a bubble or a force field around you. It absorbs this much health in damage, 120 in our case, and then poof, it's gone. So that 10-minute per level duration is bullshit. You are not buffing up with this spell at the beginning of the day. You're getting into an area where you're like, oh Jesus, they're going to be using fireball spells on my ass. Oh, time to do protection from fire. Fine, that's not a bad idea. However, how many times will it take for them to hit you with fireball or fire spells in general? Like they could do Scorching Ray, they could do Burning Hands, they could do Burning Arc, Fireball, Controlled Fireball, Dragon's Breath, and all kinds of fire spells in the game. How many hits would it take for that 120 to pop? Is it going to last you the full 10 minutes times 19 caster levels? I kind of doubt it. It's going to break within the first few rooms that you're fighting in, right? Now go back to this lower level spell and see what it does. It doesn't pop. It lasts for the full duration. Of course, if you die, it's over, but the point is it will be absorbing 30 of every fire attack or whatever element you pick. Attack coming your way, each attack, not per round, per attack. So if they hit you with a fireball that does 60 damage, 30 is going through and 30 is being protected. Yes, that sucks for 30 going through. This one here, if they hit you twice with that 60 and 60 fireball, that spell pops. You would have been immune to both of those attacks, okay. But then now the next one that comes, you're taking the full brunt of it. You understand? This one here, you done 30 through. You protect from 30, 30 goes through. It's protected from 30, and it's always going to be there. That's my point. And again, together they're amazing. So obviously you want both of them. But if I had a choice between this one or that one, this would be the one I'd pick for sure. It's just nice that they gave it to you for free. This is still not enough is my point, though. That's why we're grabbing this. From there, Obsidian Flow, Bone Shatter. Nice AoE damage, 10d6 for most people, and for you it'll be 9d6. Because you're not level 20 caster, you're level 19, which is a shame, but it's not that much. It is fire damage, can be cold damage if you leave your toggle on, and this is the one that after the effect they're slowed down in the air. That's why it's crowd control, because it's broken glass that they have to tippy toe over and not try to cut themselves on. They move slower, so do you. Bone Shatter, amazing spell, can be turned into cold damage. It's auto hit. It's so weird that you can turn this into cold damage, but it's cool. And you will do the full 15d6 of damage if they fail their save. If they make their save, they do half damage. It's a fortitude save though, so it works on those ninja bastards, and it makes them fatigued, guaranteed. Exhausted if they fail their save. So if they fail it, great. If they don't, still good. And that's a nice 1-2 combo for your Sirocco. Because remember, Sirocco will take them fatigued. If it hits them again, they'll make them exhausted. But if they're already fatigued, thanks to Bone Shatter, say, now the next time it hits them, they'll definitely be exhausted. So that's a nice 1-2 punch for a guy that's a difficult troll, for instance, that's walking through your Sirocco to kick your ass, bone shatter his ass, and then wait for Sirocco to hit him a second time, and poof, he goes to being exhausted. That's a -6 to his dex and strength, but dex, which means a -3 to his reflexes, softening him up for all your other reflex spells. Just saying. We have a lot of those spells, by the way, that soften them up for reflexes. Web, slow lowers their reflexes a tiny bit. Obsidian Flow is considered entangled if you cast it on them. If they take fire damage, or in your case cold if you have your toggle on, then they are technically entangled if they fail their save. If they pass their save, then they take like half damage and they're not entangled, so that sucks. But if they take full damage, they are entangled. So it's the equivalent of a web spell for instantaneous. Why do I say instantaneous? Because after the initial spike of damage, you can walk through that shit and not be entangled. You're just slowed down because of the difficult terrain. Now on that, would I make this character? No. I would actually make this character different, bro. I would actually have gone Aasimar. Why? Because at level 10 and up, an Aasimar can get wings. Wings can make you immune to a lot of shit, like web spell, grease spell, which we didn't pick up. That don't mean they're not going to cast it. Also, the difficult terrain from Obsidian Flow. Not the protection. It won't protect you from the initial spike of fire damage or the entangled. Well, maybe it'll protect you from the entangled, but you will still take fire damage, so don't cast that shit in your feet. But after that goes off, remember that pool's there and they move slow through it. You won't because you have wings on. Another reason for liking wings is wings also give you a +3 dodge bonus to your melee attacks. So, just like you monking it up with all your dodge bonus, that's touch attack armor, dodge stacks. So that +3 could mean 3 more armor to you at level 10 or probably 11 up. That's pretty awesome. And again, that's how I would do it. But you can do what you want. Tieflings are still fun. I totally dig it. But that's my take on that part. For these ones, honestly, the only one that I could say as just a joke pick was Elemental Assessor. I just wanted to test some things out. It's another Ray spell, so feel free to use it, but it's Hellfire Ray is better. It does different elemental damage unless you leave your toggle on, and this is why I tested it, because it will do cold damage for every beam. Normally, if you shut your toggle off and just use the spell normal, it does acid damage, cold damage, electric damage, and fire damage on the first hit. And then whichever one did the most damage, they will take more damage of that type, let's say acid, for 1 to 4 more rounds. So it's a funny spell. It's a tick, tick, tick spell, and I hate those by and large. But it is trippy that you can make all the damage just cold, 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 and cold. It's just hilarious to me. And again, it's a Ray spell. But if you didn't get this, pick something else. There's plenty of choices out there. You'll notice I didn't get Tar Pool, for instance. You could have grabbed that Grease spell. I know it's late in the build, but what the hell? Grease is great from start to finish. There's plenty of uses for it. There's others besides that I just didn't think about grabbing. You have no Paralysis spell, for instance. So like Icy Prison could be cool, or Old Monster, or Chains of Light, or Constricting Coils. Whatever you want to do, bro. But Greater Heroism I still maintain, even at level 20, is still worth it. +4 to your swing, +4 to all your saves, immunity to fear, +4 to all your skills. That's awesome. And a +19, because you didn't get all the way to level 20. +19 for your caster level health. So another 19 you can stack onto here. And that stacks with Vampiric Touch health. Just saying. So you can have a lot bigger health pool than you think. Have that on you for sure when you go into the area. The very first guy you hit, you should probably swing in a Vampiric Touch on that son of a bitch to get a big pool of health. So even if they do damage you, it's taking it from the fake quote-unquote health. And that's your spells. So that's all I really want to show you on that. We are here now with your character. And again, don't forget to close hoard up, put on the best gear possible. As far as buffs are concerned, certainly for early level it's different than when you have level 20 character like we got right now. But for early levels, highly recommend the following. Extended magic you can get at level 4 for your build. Because that one level dip in monk, it slows it down, otherwise it'd be level 3. So do stuff like this. I would do extend, definitely expeditious retreat. And that would last you now for like 6 to 8 minutes depending on what level you are. And you could kite with a nice crossbow, and that's all you need to get from 3 to 5 very easily. It's not quick, but it's easy. If you're fighting, then obviously you want to go more. So extended magic and shield spell for sure. And then the last one I would actually use on reduced person. Now these are all level 1 spells. So again, you really have a good 6 to 8 minute buff on you for armor, protection, and otherwise. Let's take a look at that. So strength went down. We knew that was going to be a thing. We don't particularly care. Our weapon damage is going to be going down. 1d6 goes to 1d4 because you're a teeny tiny size category. But our dex went up 2 points. See that size bonus? Notice it's stacking with the belt I have on. But that's a +2 to dex. Another +1 to your swing because of size and because of your dex. And that's for ranged or melee, as long as it's weapon finessable, of course, which includes any of your monk weapons except for the staff, includes your rapier, includes the kukri, and includes your fists. It also works for any of your ranged attacks, and also works for your ray spells, which are ranged attacks. So again, and of course melee touch attacks, but you're channeling those through your weapon, right? But the point is you're basically getting a +2 to your swing, and a +2 to your armor again besides, and another +1 to your reflexes. So awesome. Those 3 spells again are more than enough to get you through early on. It's weird that that's all you need, but it is really all you need. Blur can get added to the mix once you get to level 5, I want to say. And of those 4 spells, excuse me, here, and here. Honestly, I would actually extend Expeditious Retreat for sure. I'd extend Shield for sure, and I'd extend Blur for sure. And I would just have a normal version of Reduced Person on. Why? Because when you see it grow, when your character is going from teeny tiny shape to normal human size or tiefling size again, you'll know that you're halfway through the buff period of these other 3 spells. So you can kind of gauge a little bit how much fight you still have left in you. Do you need to leave the dungeon and go take a nap? Get your spells back. You see what I'm saying? So again, that's why I would do that. It's not that Reduced Person's not amazing. It's just a nice visual cue that, oh shit, these spells wore off me. And you definitely don't want to run out of Expeditious Retreat. I mean, that's an obvious. Here's a nice example of Ferocious Trollhounds. Notice the cold area map that we're in. I assume they're going to be resistant to cold damage. That doesn't mean you can't hurt them. It just means that they're probably going to do some cold spell damage to us. So let's buff ourselves up. So how do we do that? Well, here's our resist elements, cold. Now, do I need this? Remember, you have damage reduction 4 for cold for being a tiefling. You would have the same if you went Aasimar. Because you went water elemental, you get 10 base cold reduction at level like 3 or some shit, and then you get like another 10 up to a solid 20 at level 9, which for you would be level 10 in your build. So we don't really need to cast this. We're already at 20, but I will cast protection from energy cold on myself. Now from here, weapon buffs besides, just know which a good weapon buff is, and don't forget to make sure to put your Arcane Strike back on. It likes to shut itself off.
This ends you.
Damn cold spells that they like to spam on you. So now these guys are dead, but you can see they're not dead because they're trolls, right? So again, what do we need to do? Acid damage or fire damage, right? So do you want to waste a fire spell on them? Sure. Make sure your toggle's off. But let's actually test that theory. Remember, I said that I don't know that for a fact. This is definitely a cold spell. This should not kill him. Remember, they are immune, or not immune. They're can only be killed with fire or cold, or fire or acid. But this is a fire spell, but if I leave my toggle on, it should do cold damage, and I know it does. So let's see if it kills him, though. I think it might.
Take that.
It does. And again, the damage was... Oh. I had my toggle on, I thought. Let's do it on this guy. Let's try this. Again, we know for sure it's going to be cold damage. Did it kill him? Nope. And then it killed him. So again, if you wanted to do that, turn that off and use fire. Obviously, that's a waste. I would use this acid splash. But my point is, if you really want to hit him and hit him hard and drop a troll, make sure that toggle's on so it's doing full fire damage, right? But, yeah, part of the build is going to be managing whether or not you need that toggle on. So I leave it off by default. It's up to you. I leave it off by default and then go from there. On that, though, if you want to tell that it's working, like let's say you left it on and you're not sure if you left it on. Like you're going to shoot somebody and you need to do that fire damage, like I said. And you're like, well, how do I know if it did fire damage or cold damage other than checking, of course, your combat log? Well, let's give you an example right here, right? Sneaking in, here's a troll hound. Let's say you thought you had your toggle off, you weren't paying attention, and you're going to do, again, that attack, right? See what it does to the guy.
We will
Notice how it looks like
prevail.
fire when it goes off. When it hits, it turns into a white cloud, and you can almost hear ice breaking. See that? And you even see ice shards on the ground. So you know it was the cold version, right? So if you turn it off, again, and recast it, it's obviously the right version. It'll still look like fire, and then when it hits, it'll be fire. See, like that. That's what I'm talking about. So again, you get used to it. It's weird and fiddly, but you do get used to it. From here, I should say that there's times where you really got to be careful with how you walk. Remember, as the only person on the team, everyone's coming for you, so that's a given. Ooh, appreciate it. Gold vision, what the hell is that? So you're the only person, which means they're charging you, which is a given, and that's fine. Which means you can corral them, by the way. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But another problem with you being the only target, remember you're using, I'm assuming, as a Magus, you'll have your spell combat and spell strike always on, right? So when you cast that fireball spell or obsidian flow spell,
Defeat is
if you
not
hurt
an
guys up in a corner, this is what I typically do. I get everybody's attention in a room. I'm faster than them thanks to Expeditious Retreat. Then I pick a corridor or corner where everyone's going to come up on me, and then I'll do like a fireball spell like here. Obviously, make sure your toggle's off if you want to do fire damage. Remember, you don't want to be in the circle because it could hurt you. So let's do it like there, right? Well, now here's the problem. If I cast that spell and I just take my hands off the keyboard and my mouse, I'll cast a spell, and as the fireball's leaving my hands, my character's next thought is, well, you know you have spell combat and spell strike on, right? That means you want me to melee with my cool nunchakus or rapier or whatever you're using. No, I don't. I want you to let that fireball hit. So here's the problem. You will run forward and get caught in your own fireball spell. You'll get caught in your obsidian flow spell, and it pisses you off. So here's how you solve that problem, bro. Make sure you have hold right here. It's an H key by default. So you have your finger poised over the H key, or in my case, I always just keep my mouse cursor over hold. Is second you see that fireball fly off your hand, you just smack on that button. Okay? Okay, so that keeps you from running. You are stationary for that time. And the weird part is it's not permanent. That's the weird thing about this. You hold, and then for like one round he'll hold in place, and then he'll run forward to get the next guy. It's really annoying that you have to like micromanage your dude. I wish they had like an anchor button, you know, where I can say, don't move from this spot until I tell you to pick up anchor. That'd be amazing. If someone knows how to code, make that a thing for this button. I would rather have it, and literally it would be like this, where it's always on, then you know you're anchored. Oh, why am I not moving? Anchor. So again, that should be an anchor button in my opinion. But again, annoying.
strike as one.
Oof. Got those guys dead. Let's see, other stuff I can show you. Not much really left to show you. I mean, you know how your spells work, I'm assuming. So I'm not going to waste your time with all that silliness. Again, know which ones work and don't. I will show you the cool AoE effect, but we can't do it in this map because obviously cold.
Let us press on.
What else can I show you though? Oh, let's show you the buff. So a couple things you want for buffs, by the way. Another reason to start as a monk, in my opinion, they give you a couple of these potions for free as a monk, which is awesome. And nothing else. They give you like a shit ton of potions, and you're naked. Well, I mean, you got your clothes on, but you don't have any armor, and you got your fists, and that's all they don't even give you a monk weapon, the dickheads. You're like, you can punch shit, fuck you. So when you start level 1 monk, that's it. You basically get 5 potions in here. 2 are healing potions, I think. 2 are mage armor, and I think you get 1 shield of faith, I think. But useful. But mage armor is useful for you because, again, you have no armor slot. And again, it wouldn't stack with armor, so it's whichever is the best. So if I had like leather armor, that's a +2. This was a +4. This would be better. If I had plate mail on, that's +9. This is +4. The plate mail will be counted. But the point is, I can use this. It lasts me for 1 hour. See that? A cheap potion. You can buy these for like 50 gold pieces, man. And find them, you'll stockpile them. When you get into a big area where you know you're going to fight and fuck some shit up, that's a +40 armor here and here, man. And that's early on and even late in the game. That's a really nice bump. I find wands of mage armor as well. If you can buy one for that has like 50 charges on it, that's 50 uses for mage armor. That's a 1 hour buff. Obviously, you don't use that when you get ambushed unless you really need it. But if you're using it like you walk into those big mapped areas, poof, Mage Armor wand comes out. I buff myself up with a nice +4, and then I'll decide whether or not I need the shield spell, because they're both +4, right? The shield spell just doesn't last as long. So again, you will love having potions or wands or scrolls of Mage Armor. I also have potions of Delay Poison, which I will use. That one is a 3-hour buff for us because it's a caster level 3, 1 hour per caster level. Yeah, so immune to poison spells now. So let's show you that clear and obvious trick. Make sure you're stealthy. And remember, just as a quick reminder in case I didn't bring it up before, you're a teeny tiny person, so you got a +4 to your stealth just because of that. And this is something that, with the exception of the +6, right now you'd be at a +9. If you're talking, this would be a +5. And it's only because of my belt. What do I say that? Literally, by the time you get reduced person, you can still have this +9 stealth at like level 4, level 5, I think, something like that. And I think level 4. You can have a +9 to your stealth. It never gets any better. Of course, you can use boots and gear that buff it, and then of course, you know, invisibility and vanish and shit like that too. But I'm just saying that 9 stealth early on is not the worst thing ever. It's not amazing, but it will allow you to dip your toe into the area to kind of unlock the area. See, oh, there's at least 2 guys over here. Okay, I'm going to go this way and attack them, or set them up for a nice stinking cloud spell. Especially if it's a caster.
Stand with me.
But then rush that cloud. Why? Because you see that little halo around his head? He's puking his guts out. He can't attack, and he can't cast spells. Anyone that has that on them can't do anything other than defend themselves or walk away. So, if they're in the cloud, they have to fight you in the cloud, melee style. They're fighting in the cloud that you're immune to. Boom. Cheap and easy again. Just beautiful. Oh, looks like we got a caster, though. He's going to walk into the cloud. I need to finish off that troll with a nice little acid splash. And again, I commonly do this. Right-click your Ray spells. So you can just finish it. Oh, he killed his own dude. Good job, Alchemist. Boom! In the face. So again, I think you'll like the build, man. Tell me what you think and how you would change it up. Again, I still maintain, though, that there's definitely an Aasimar heritage for you. That's Dex Charisma, and if that's not a thing, I'm fairly certain there is one. But if there's not, or you just don't like that one, look for one that's at least a Charisma bonus. Shouldn't be hard. And, like, say, Intelligence. And then just make sure your Dexterity goes up the natural way of you putting points into it, and you'll be happy with it. Get wings when you can on that. Literally, what feat would I drop? Let's actually look at your character sheet. Remember, to get wings, you need a feat to purchase it, and that can be these guys, potentially. I'm not sure on that, but it could be. At the very least, though, it could be anything on this list. You just pick it up here. What would I get rid of? Probably, honestly, deflect arrows. As sad as it is to say, this is not that amazing. It's definitely helpful. You will see it when you bat an arrow out of the air. You will love it. But it's not necessary, and if your armor's already huge, who cares that they had multiple arrows coming in? They're missing more often than they're hitting. So I'd rather get rid of that and get that wings, quite frankly. So that's up to you. And of course, I'd shovel it down to this way, because the sooner you get it, the better. But again, up to you. But that's really all I had to say for you, man. I know this video went on forever, guys. You know how I do. But I think you'll be happy with it. Remember to be a clothes whore. Remember to get your bags of holding. And that's really all I had to say for you. For that, though, my name is Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. How would you change this build up to be a better Ray caster? I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.